Hello! It is time for another Top Grades Made Easy video. Today I'm going to offer you something amazing. You will only need 12 of these. These are revision cards. They are tiny. There's that volume of information on them. In this video I'm going to show you how to get there. The first thing you're going to need to do is visit your exam website and find the papers for 2017, 2018, 2019, none for the COVID years, and 2022. That's 4 exam papers. Whatever you do, don't try and find out what was in the 2023 exam. You'll find out why later. So, you have 4 exam papers, that's it, you're ready to go. Let's see how to use them. Now, some of you will be horrified that I'm suggesting that you do practice essays. Well, that's okay, because I'm not suggesting that yet. Actually, I think you're going to get more at this stage out of planning. Okay, so when you find those questions, I just want you to write a plan that you would use in each exam answer. What does a plan look like? Your plan is going to be bullet points, or even better, numbered points. How many? I'm going to ask you to have 6. Number 1 will always be the beginning of the text, because that's going to fit every single question. Your final point will be the ending, because the ending is where the author sums up their final point of view. And their final point of view is always going to be relevant to every single question. Remember, to get the marks, you're writing about the author's perspective. So, you have to write about the ending. That's the place where the perspective is revealed. Then you need 4 key events. If you are brilliant, you can go up to 6, but on average, you need 4. Those 4 key events you will find are brilliantly useful in my next tip. Before we get to that, you want those events to be chronological. You've already started with the beginning and you know you're going to get to the end. Chronological, the order in which they happen, that is super important because it allows you to show how whatever it is in the question, a character or a theme, develops through the text. When you write about how it develops, you're automatically at least on grade 7. So if you do that all the way through your essay, super high chance that you will get at least to grade 7. Okay, you've planned your 4 questions. You're now going to go to that list and think, is there a character or a theme which is missing? Invent a question for that and do the same. Write your 6-point plan or your 8-point plan if you're aiming for the very top grade. Right, let's review what you've got. You have your 5 questions, your 5 plans. And for each plan you've worked out the beginning and the ending, and then you've decided what key events, 1 to 4, are going to fit. Now comes the superpower of your revision. What you're going to find is that these 4 key events that you've picked out will actually fit most questions. If you've done 6 key events because you're aiming for the very top grade, you will definitely find 4 that will fit across all of them. Well, what are you going to do with that information? You're going to think, oh, hang on, if I get a quote or maximum 2 quotes from each event and from the beginning and from the end, I know that they will fit every single question that's going to come up. That is a superpower of your revision, because when you get to the real exam, those quotes aren't going to change, those events aren't going to change, and if you've learnt them now, they're definitely going to be in long-term memory way before you get to the exam. Right, so what am I going to do? Well, for each of those events, I'm now going to find a quote, or 2 quotes, and I'm going to do that for the beginning and the ending, and obviously for each of those. So let's say I have 2 quotes for each of those. I now have 12 quotes that are going to fit every single question, no matter what the question is. I can do that for each of my texts. 12 quotes is not too many to learn, is it? Okay, so I've identified my quotes. What's next? Right, let's review what you have in front of you. You have 12 quotes per plan and you have 5 plans. Now in theory that could give you 60 different quotes, 12 times 5, but in practice that is not what's going to happen because your events will overlap all the time and therefore your quotes will overlap all the time. So you're probably going to end up with 20 high value quotes that you've put into your plans to answer every single essay. Now 20 quotes is a lot to remember. So you can be tactical about this and say, well, I'm not going to revise all 20. Instead, I'm going to look at my plans again and see which ones I can force into nearly every plan. And I'm going to get rid of the outliers, the quotes that only turn up once or twice in different plans. And so you want to get down to a total of 12 to 15. You don't have to, you can learn 20, but I think many of you will be thinking, I don't want all that stuff in my head. Whatever, 12 to 15 is going to do it. Now, the other reason it's going to do it is the exam board genuinely say this, it horrifies me, but they say, look, we don't actually need you to remember any quotes at all. If you can't remember the quote, just tell us about the event. And remember, you've revised your 6 key events. So if you tell the examiner what happened in the event and link that to the writer's point of view, you will get the marks, even though you're not quoting the actual words. The other thing they say is, well, you can put it in your own words, you can paraphrase it. And so, oh, I can't remember what the exact words were from this quote. Don't say, oh, well, I can't use it. Say, okay, well, I'll just do my best memory of that quote. And the examiner will say, fair enough. I'm going to give you the mark even though you don't know the quote. So they genuinely say this in the examiner's reports. I hate that as an English teacher, but you as a student will be thinking, oh, that's good. I can get away with that. So if I learn 12, but I've got a good knowledge of 20, I'll be able to paraphrase the ones I haven't learned really well, and the examiner will give me the marks. Right, what do we do to learn each quote in a way that will maximise our chance of getting top grades? So here is an example from Macbeth. It will make sense to you even if you've never read the play. Okay, so on the first side of my revision card, I have 4 prompts. Here they are. So these prompts tell me I've got to, number 1, work out what quote that is. So I remember that quote. Okay, and then my revision says, look, I've made these plans, so now I'm going to have to apply it. So here is a revision card for 1 quote. It is very tiny. Let's see what's on the front. So there are 4 things, okay? 4 things that I need to know about this quote, and the answer to those will be on the back, so I can test myself or someone else can test me. So number 1 says, well, this quote is about patriarchal problems of gender and power in the play you're studying, Miss Salles, which is Macbeth. And so I think, oh, okay, what is that? And I've learned a quote, which is unsex me here, and the rest of it. This is where it gets really clever. My next bit says, I want you to apply that, Mr. Salles, because you've made these plans in which you practice how each quote would apply to each question. So now I want you to tell me how that would apply if the question was about the character of Macbeth. Now, I do that. How would you apply it if the character was Lady Macbeth? Okay, I can do that. And then, how would you apply it if the thing was the supernatural? So, now I've planned 3 questions. But not just 3 questions, because I might get a question on the relationship between these 2 characters, Macbeth and Lady Macbeth. So I've prepared 4 questions with the same quote. On the back, I have the key vocabulary that I'm going to use when I make those links. So in my revision, someone can say to me, right, you know the quote, can you apply it to the supernatural, please? And not only do I have to waffle on about the supernatural, I have to remember what I'm going to use, what vocabulary. And so I'm going to have the idea of embracing evil. And that phrase, embracing evil, I'm going to put in my essay. So one quote will easily fit 4 different essays. And that's how you superpower your revision. Imagine me saying to you at the beginning of this video, all you have to revise is 12 of these tiny little cards. Now that doesn't seem like a stretch, does it? It starts to sound easy. But remember, we only got there by doing the plans first. Okay, if you really want top grades, it's time to practice the odd question. Make a prediction. You've seen what the past questions are. Make a prediction about what you think the question might be in the real thing. Remember, you don't care whether that's the question in the mock or not. And use those cards to write an exam answer. In the first instance, you can cheat if you want, put the cards in front of you and work out how to write from your plan. Or you can trust the process and say, no, I think I might learn more by not looking at my cards in front of me and just doing it from memory from my plan. When you do that, take it to your teacher. I surveyed over 100 grade 9 students and another 100 grade 8 this year, and one interesting feature was different. They both did loads of exam practice, but the kids who got grade 9 were much more likely to give that exam practice to their teacher to mark. Those who got grade 8 were much more likely not to burden their teacher. Your teacher will actually be so excited if they've got a student in their class who wants to do well and is doing practice on their own. I guarantee that they'll want to mark it for you, and that's the easiest way to get the top grades. You might be thinking, why are my teachers going to set me the 2023 exam if those questions aren't going to come up in the real thing? And the answer to that is because they're convinced that students will go out and just look up the answers online if they know what paper's going to be in the mock, and then they'll get inflated grades. What can I tell you? However, don't worry about that, because the mock will be a genuine test of what you know. Remember, you've prepared an essay that hasn't come up yet, and so the chances are you will have prepared the mock question. There's probably a 50-50 chance that you'll actually predict it. But you don't care about that because you're actually trying to predict the 2024 question, which is very likely to be a variation or the exact question that's been asked in one of the previous years. And you've already planned those, or if you're totally committed, written a practice essay. Now, the video you need next is probably the one that shows you how I made my revision cards. And that one is coming up now.